Gonna do a different intro this time. We got a new background. It's pretty nice. Using this because the other one smelled like crap. So I was like, let's pick a different color. So purple it is. Sorry, it's wrinkly. That's all I had. So yeah, today we're gonna listen to Thrice, Artist in the Ambulance. We're not. I have the record, but I got lazy. I'm not gonna lie, and I just don't feel like bringing it out. So we're just gonna do it off the phone. That came out July 22nd, 2003. So damn, it's 21 years coming up. It's almost old enough to drink. And then this is their third studio album. This is a really good album. It's one of my favorites. Like I said before, this was kind of one of my high school records that I used to listen to it all the time. I feel like it shaped a lot of like how I play now, and like I said, I've been told that my music is inspired by it. It's not intentionally.
Just, no, I can totally understand that. Like where people say you kind of sound a little bit like Thrice, because after hearing this album a few times, I was like, okay, that's a little similar to what Jake plays.
Yeah, and these guys were kind of one of the first bands to get the whole, I guess, hardcore mixed with like punk and metal together.
Yeah,
and they inspired bands like Avenged Sevenfold and probably that whole like Orange County, California type metalcore.
Right. Well, and then after listening to it a few times too, what was really interesting to me about this group was the distortion was really toned down on this. Like it was, it's there, but it's not like way over the top or real aggressive. It's just, it's basically just what it needs.
Because Chiodo's kind of the same thing. They had pretty heavy riffs, but they had really, like light distortion.
Yeah, and then to me that was just the most interesting part of listening to this album was just the fact that because I'm expecting it to be real loud, real aggressive, like a little bit more like
it's pretty aggressive. It's just not in your face,
right? So I was like, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. And plus, for our purposes, learning the songs, it is a lot more articulate, so you can kind of hear what's being done a lot easier.
Yeah, and if anybody's interested, there's I found there's an instrumental version of this album on YouTube. So if you want to, I don't know, I guess compare it when we do our covers. It'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah, it would be interesting.
So I'm gonna probably listen to that a lot, learning my song. I've got most of it down, but all right, let's get started. The first song is Cold Cash and Cold Hearts. And like this song, it kind of the lyrics, they kind of work today because it's about it's kind of about how money controls everything here at the top of the world. Yeah, they're talking about like the top 1% or whatever.
And that was what also was really interesting because I'm not that familiar with like emo type music or like this kind of thing, but yeah, I mean, like I really, once again, I can't remember, I've said this several times too on some of your picks. Like I don't really understand why I never got into these kind of bands because it's pretty good. Like the lyrics, the music.
Yeah, these guys were really cool. Like I'm not the biggest fan of their newer stuff. Well, I wasn't. I saw them live. It's been a while, but I saw them live several years ago, and I got a whole new appreciation for them. They were honestly one of the best sounding bands I've ever seen live, and like their newer stuff just made more sense. Like there was a lot more, you could feel it more, and there was a lot more depth and a lot more. Right. The way it came across live was even like this stuff, like their older stuff. It sounded so good live. They did recently re-record this whole album, and it sounds good, but it doesn't have the charm that this did.
No.
You know.
But yeah, like right around that time, it seemed like they would throw caution to the wind with a lot of albums, and they would just EQ it really high, and it would always clip, and it would just sound like complete garbage in a lot of albums. But this one, no, it really doesn't.
Yeah. Even their album before this, it was kind of more. Didn't sound bad. It was just a little bit more unclear. But their album before this was. I think I like it more like musically. Just it's so much like just kind of more thrashy.
Right.
Where this album they got a little bit more towards the emo side. It's still pretty. There's pretty good like thrash elements to it.
It's yeah, it's gonna be a challenge, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Under a Killing Moon.
Yeah. It's just, and we were talking about it earlier. It's just the type of rhythms they're using. I'm just not used to doing. Yeah. So it's like getting that under my fingers is gonna be the hard part. But I really don't mind. I mean, it's gonna be kind of fun.
It was kind of cool because, like I said, they were one of the pioneers of this sound, and it was a big part of that was like it's almost like a syncopated gallop,
Right.
where it's like kind of like galloped and like on the on and off beat, and
Right.
it's really cool. Like, and like you said, they're not really doing anything like or like their sound, they're not using that much distortion, but it still sounds pretty heavy.
Right, and it's a lot of extensions because when I was looking at how the song's played, layers of octave chords, and what they do when you put them together in the song, it looks like it's creating the illusion of it being a huge, gigantic chord, but it's overdubs of 4 different guitars. It sounds like.
Yeah, it's been the same, 4 guys or whatever since the beginning. They sound, their singer especially sounds completely different than he did back then.
Oh
but
yeah,
same singer, but his voice has just got more, I guess, mature sounding,
right.
deeper. He doesn't sound so like whiny.
Well, that being said, too, like I've heard over the years, like it's a lot of people really rip on the emo singers and stuff. I kind of like it. I mean, but then again, I'm the kind of person where I really like how Geddy Lee sounds. So, hearing this, when I hear people talk shit about how emo singers sing, I'm like, I don't think you could have had it any other way.
And this was also that era where it was like right after the grunge period, where there was still like not really caring so much if it sounds perfect. Like it still had, this still has like a grunge element, especially to the lyrics or the vocals, where it's like it sounds good, but it's a little wavering and a little like it's fighting the music a little bit, but it's a lot more edgy and aggressive. And then there's more screaming, obviously.
I can't wait till I get to that part. The dun, dun.
Yeah, these guys were so good. They were kind of like, they didn't sound like them, but they kind of like Spine Shank. These guys were one of the more lesser known, I guess. Even though I just said they were the pioneers, like they didn't really get into a lot of recognition back then.
No,
because quickly after this, then like Sevenfold came out, and then like stuff like that started getting more popular, and these guys just kind of got left in the dust.
Oh yeah,
and then not long after this, they kind of went more towards like an indie kind of sound, and not so much like the hardcore. So they kind of went away from the genre after this.
Well, then metalcore got real big too, just a couple years later. So I mean, that was like kind of like, as far as heavy metal went, that was what was the dominant style. So I mean, emo was still there and it was still very popular. It just, I don't think it really reached the heights that metalcore ever did.
No, I mean, there's definitely there's a spot for it in history and music, but it's like the kids that were into this kind of stuff, this was like the band for them.
Oh yeah,
like they were one of the more I guess they'd kind of get lumped with like I guess more like the emo pop punk bands, but that's all there really was otherwise. And like I guess like Fall Out Boy and I don't know, that kind of stuff. So like the kids that were into that, this was like their heavy band.
Right.
They're not even that heavy, but they're still really good.
I mean, musically, I don't hear anything bad here at all. No. I mean, it's like it's very complicated.
Well, it's simple, but it's complicated. Like the chord progressions are very simple.
Right. That's what I was getting at.
But the rhythms they're playing are very difficult. Some of their leads they're playing are really difficult. Yeah, they're just, I hate to sound like a fucking Gen Z, but they're low-key, really technical, and they're really talented people.
Well, because that's what I was saying. Like, it was more of their decisions in the production side of it. Like, as far as, like, how they're going to overdub, how they're going to layer, how complicated they want to make the rhythms and the overdubs. That's kind of what I was getting at. Like, overall, no. I mean, like, each individual part isn't that difficult, but it's how they approached it and how they decided to, like, the production decisions they made is what makes it hard.
And their vocal harmonies are really good on this album.
Yeah.
And he's a really good singer, too.
Yeah, he is.
What's his name? He's got a weird name, and I can't remember how to pronounce it. Their singer's Dustin Kensrue. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's really good. Their lead guitarist, Tepi Teranishi, I guess is how you pronounce it. Super good. And they're really good together. They have a good... kind of a pretty good like chemistry as guitarists, and then I don't know who's doing the back Silhouette. I used to wake up to this every day,
and I think this is the one that I knew off of, like I'd heard it several times. Because when we were deciding to do this one and everything, I just happened to see this sitting there. I'll be honest, when I was going through your records, I was like, that's a cool looking album cover. Let's try that one. But
that's such a sick riff too. It's so big,
right? But then, as soon as I heard this song, I was like, "Oh, okay, yes. Now I know who this is."
Yeah.
So
I don't even know who this sounds like, except for like bands like Newer.
See, this is just a matter of a coming from a person who didn't really get into this style, but to me this reminds me of Breaking Benjamin a little bit.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Or 3 Days
I hate to
Grace.
say it, but yeah, I can hear it. Not that, I mean, I fucking hate Breaking Benjamin, but it doesn't mean that they're a bad band. They were definitely, a lot of people liked them, but
Well,
I can definitely hear it.
Right, in 2003 to 2005, you had to get on the radio somehow, and this is...
Well, these guys were never on the radio, I don't think, except for like way later. That was like, I think the first time I ever heard them on the radio was like when Black Honey came out.
Right.
And that was like 3 albums ago, so that must have came out, 2015, I would say.
Right. But I mean, what I was saying was at the time, this is kind of what would get on the radio, like this kind of sound. So, I mean... But
that's what I mean. Not until after this did bands start doing this. So, like, these guys were like influential, like without bands even knowing it.
Right. Well, because I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of examples in the past too, where it's like all these famous, popular bands are like, "Hey, have you listened to these guys? This is where we got our ideas from and everything," and you never heard them. I mean, it's kind of a shame, really.
Yeah, Thrice was really cool. And I say was, but I mean they are really cool. Like I said, I wasn't the biggest fan of their newer stuff, but seeing them live, it was just totally different. Like, it was way better than listening to the record, in my opinion.
I mean, they seem kind of like a band where, yeah, to get the full effect, you want to see them live.
Especially back then, I would have loved to see them live. I bet so much energy in their music. I bet they put on a hell of a show back then.
Did they do Warped Tour and Ozfest?
I'm sure. Probably not Ozfest. That wasn't really their crowd, but
no.
I'm sure they did Warped Tour. Oh, they did do Warped Tour, probably. I think, because I got 2 of those compilation CDs. I think they're on at least one of them.
Okay.
And it would have been right around this time.
They sound like one of those Warped Tour kind of bands to me.
Yep. But Warped Tour was weird, because, like, they would have bands, like, when me and Ashley saw them, or went to Warped Tour, they, who was there? Motionless and White was there. Like, some fucking, like, I mean, Motionless and White's not that heavy, but like metal bands, Every Time I Die was there, which they've been there before, but I always thought they were way too heavy to play with, like, because when Warped Tour came out, it was supposed to be like a punk tour, like a ska, like
the
skater,
skate punk stuff.
yeah, like skateboarder music, yeah. But then like bands like Avenged Sevenfold did it when like Waking the Fallen came out. They went there a bunch of times, and
this song I thought was really interesting when I heard it.
Sun.
Yeah, like we were talking earlier, it's like Under Killing Moon doesn't really sound like the rest of the songs on this, and this was the other one I was thinking of, and I couldn't think of the name.
Swell in the beginning.
Yeah, that
their bass
line
player
is sick.
Yeah. He's the drummer and the bass player are brothers, by the way. They're can't remember, their last name is Breckenridge, I think. Yeah, Eddie and Riley Breckenridge. That's another thing I took from these guys, was doing like the leads under the chorus.
Yeah,
and they did that a lot, and it really adds something, because I know for a while there was a huge thing in at least radio rock. They were doing like simpler leads. These guys' leads are pretty tough, man.
Well, and what it does too is it makes the songs a little more busy, instead of just being like, here's your rhythm, here's your lead, here's your singer. It kind of gives it a little bit more of a purpose and a little bit more, like I said, busyness.
Yeah,
so.
The only thing that I will say about this album, I guess, is that there's not a whole lot of stopping, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but the only song I think on this album, I might be wrong, but that gives the music room to breathe at any point is probably Silhouette, just because we're those little pauses and stuff.
Silhouette, and then I know I keep saying the song over and over again, but Under Killing Moon too, there's a break here and there, but it's so long in the song before you get to that that you don't even really notice it, because it's more of like, okay, well, here's your bridge now. Here it is. Stop.
That's what I mean. And I mean, their songs are so short that I mean, if they had a bunch of stops and stuff like that, these songs would kind of drag on. So I can kind of see why they did it. Just get to the point,
right? And it really lends itself to the style too, because you're right. I mean, if these songs were much longer than they are, I would say if they were over like 4 or 5 minutes long, it would get to that nauseating territory. Whereas, being 2.5 to 3.5 minutes long, I think that suits them well.
This song. Fuck, dude, I forgot how heavy this song was. But it was kind of weird to hear a band like this where they were playing. I mean, there's several or quite a few songs on this album where like at least half the songs in like 5/4, like an early time signature. But
that's a cool thing to hear too, for me anyway.
In a band like this, where they were considered like punk rock or something like that. That wasn't a punk rock thing to do.
Even in some cases, like I don't know if it was intentional or not, but there's been some cases with this band I've heard them do like some weird like 16th note odd time signature things, but it might have just been because they missed the note and they just left it because it was cool. But like, I don't know, like when you're sitting counting along and they like kind of miss a beat, it's like, oh, that's cool,
Also, I want to know where this came from. This was a theme back then. Paper Tigers. What does that even mean? The song's called Paper Tigers. Amber Lynn had a song. I don't think it was called Paper Tigers, but I know they said it in the song. Like, that was just a theme back then. And I'm like, what is that even? Like a paper tiger?
Yeah, I'd seen that before, and I never understood it either. Maybe it was something at that time, but I was just like, maybe I missed the joke. I don't know.
Yeah, if anybody knows, let me know, because I always wondered about that. I know I could easily Google it, but where's the fan interaction with that?
Right. Yeah, let us know. Because like I said, some of this stuff, yes, did come out the summer I graduated, and yes, I was only 17, 18 at the time. However, I wasn't listening to this at the time, so some of the references I just don't understand.
Yeah, I was a little late to this because 2003 I was 12, and I didn't really get into this kind of music until I was like, probably a sophomore in high school. So I was a little late, but actually I listened to this. Yeah, I think I was a sophomore. Nikki gave it to me.
Oh, okay.
I think she burned a CD for me or something like that. These guys in Finch, they were another one of those bands that they were a little bit more of the emo side and less of the like metal or metalcore or hardcore punk side. But Finch was cool too. What It Is to Burn. That's a cool album.
And see, that's somebody too that she had quite the eclectic taste.
She showed
in
me a
music.
lot. Yeah, she's the one that. Well, I'd heard of Chiodos before then, but she had the CD All's Well That Ends Well, and I stole it from her, and I listened to it a lot.
I'll be honest, the first place I ever heard Coheed and Cambria was from Nikki. She had In Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3, and I listened to it. She we were working together for a little while at UPS, and
oh, that's right, I forgot about that.
And she brought that CD, and I said, okay, we'll listen to it, and I put it on, and I was like, damn, that's pretty good, and so that was the first time I ever heard Coheed.
By the way, if you can see any of these posters behind us, if you can name them, other than that one, that's really the only one you can see, and the one behind me, if you can figure out who it is,
good for you.
Good for you. You can pat yourself on the back, and you can say, I figured it out. But I also got up here, I have right above the Metallica poster, there's Ola England's album, and then What the Dead Men Say by Trivium, and then they're all signed. That's why I put them up there. And I don't know, it's kind of cool. I was one of those. I was fanboying out because when What the Dead Men Say came out, they did a pre-order, and if you pre-ordered it, the whole band signed the album. And it was during COVID, so it was kind of cool. They did a live stream of them fulfilling all these orders and signing them all. Yeah, so it was cool. So I watched them live when they signed mine, and they didn't give me a shout out, but my name was on the bottom of the screen.
Oh, really?
So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was just such a huge fanboy at that time. It was funny. And Ola England, he's fucking great.
Right. Yeah, I mean, his channel, Jake showed me his channel because I was watching other YouTubers and stuff, and then I saw Ola, and the first one of his I saw was, I think he was trying to figure out how to do the solo for Another Day by Dream Theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Ola's awesome.
He's hilarious. I love Ola. I keep saying next time he comes to America, whether it's his solo shit or if he's going on tour with The Haunted soon, but I think that's just a European tour. But I want to see him really bad.
Yeah, I would like to see Ola.
Really bad.
Like it's really cool with him because he's a little older than you would think he is, but his style, it's so cool because it's like a really good blend of like older school metal and all that, but also modern stuff.
He was huge into the 90s metal scene.
Yeah.
And The Haunted, I mean, he wasn't the original guitarist, but those guys fucking rule. I love The Haunted.
But yeah, speaking of the posters behind us too, a lot of these, man, it takes me way back because like these are old.
These are from when I was learning how to play guitar, and I had a subscription to Guitar World for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And these are most of them are from those magazines. Well, you can't see any of them up there, but there's like 3 dime bag ones. There's a Taste of Chaos 2005 poster, which I didn't even know I had. Because there's things on the backs of them, too, that I just put them up because I knew them. Like, one of them, it was like a AC/DC poster, which I fucking hate AC/DC.
Right.
There's a U2 one, The Edge. Who gives a fuck about U2?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, I didn't even know I had this Coheed and Cambria one. I didn't even know I had this Killswitch one. And right up here, there's a Lamb of God one. But I wasn't into that metal stuff back then. So, like, Lamb of God, I wasn't even listening to back then.
Well, and that too, Coheed at that time, people knew of them, and they were getting popular because of Guitar Hero.
So that was around the time that album came out.
Right.
Because
I think they kind of got a bit of a jump start on it because of Welcome Home being on that was on Rock Band, wasn't it?
Sure.
Yeah, it was on one of those. But I know they got a big boost because of that. A lot of bands too. I mean, a lot of bands kind of owe to a degree their careers to Rock Band because they got included on it. Everybody liked them.
It's kind of cool that like some of them, like the lesser known bands, they had like kind of a cult following anyway before all that, and then like Fall of Troy, and then I mean there was like Lamb of God songs on like Guitar Hero too. Because that was Laid to Rest was on that one, right? Yeah,
Laid to Rest was a hard song on there too, by the way.
And I gotta owe it to them. Like, there's a lot of bands that I found because of Guitar Hero, like fucking Death Clock, and Lamb of God, and I don't know who else.
Well, As I Light, or no, I'm sorry, it was not As
Every Time I Die.
Every Time I Die.
Coheed and Cambria. There's a ton of bands that I found because of Guitar Hero.
Shadows Fall.
All That Remains.
I mean, it was nuts. I mean, it's like just now. It's why I paused because I was like, when I think about it, I was like, damn, there's a lot of bands I got into just because of that game.
Melting Point of Wax is a good one.
I can't speak for everybody, but to me, Guitar Hero was way harder than playing real guitar. Like, it was just, I had a hard time with it.
I guess. I don't know. Like, it was mostly the controllers were just.
Well, that's what made it hard.
They were shitty, yeah.
Yeah, because like you're sitting here, like on guitar, you got a little bit of mercy off of an actual guitar, because if you mess up, you're only just one fret away from playing the right note.
Well, the crazy thing on Guitar Hero was like it was easier for me if you put it on like hyperspeed.
Yeah,
because it seemed a little bit more accurate.
Well, that and same thing. Like you had a little bit more leeway as far as like if you got the wrong note, if you like really quickly, like I found that out after a little while. If you really quickly switch to the correct note, it would register that instead. But on a real guitar, though, there's some forgiveness on a real guitar. You can mute whatever. If it rings out accidentally for a second, you can mute it, or slide your finger up one fret to get the right note, or down one fret.
But I got pretty good on that game on Expert. We used to have. I remember me and Nick. We used to battle, not battle, but because it was before they had the battle thing on there. But Almost Easy.
Oh yeah.
We used to try to see who could get the best score just on the solo.
Oh okay.
Because it was. Or was it Almost Easy? I'm pretty sure. Nick, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, because I know it was on there, but I can't
know
remember.
that was on there. Afterlife was on one of the later ones. That solo is fucking impossible. I'm pretty sure it was Almost Easy. And that song's not easy.
No.
Well, the song is, the solo's not.
Yeah, but I mean, in reality, too, I mean, that game, these posters, this album we're actually listening to, this is all from like right around the same time, so it's kind of cool.
This is really bringing me back, and I was putting these posters up. I was getting pretty nostalgic. Half of these bands up here, I didn't even listen to. I mean, I always knew Pantera, but I didn't listen to them back then. I didn't listen to Lamb of God. I didn't listen to Killswitch. The only song I knew by them for a long time was Holy Diver, and that's not even their song. I didn't start listening to Killswitch until, I don't know, 2015, 2016.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because I didn't until recently, like, and I'm talking about like within the last like year and a half maybe, I didn't listen to Killswitch. So yeah.
Killswitch is awesome. More of a bigger fan of, like everybody else, of the Howard era. His new band's good too. I like them. Light the Torch. Those guys are cool as fuck too. I love Light the Torch. They're a little bit more radio friendly sounding, but it's Howard. He can't do anything wrong. And then I also heard him and Adam are doing something.
Oh wow.
Adam from Killswitch. So that'll be cool. And then I think he's still working on that record with Jared Dines for Scion. He's such a busy musician. He's got so much going on.
I mean, I don't know, man. Like, it's really cool when YouTubers that I watch and everything, like when they're starting to get success and they start getting called out and they start playing with established musicians. I think that's really cool. Yeah. You know, I mean, I don't know. Because like, at least for me anyway, when I watch YouTube musicians, it's kind of like a little bit more like personalized to me, I guess. Like it's almost like they're doing that just for me, and I'm watching it, and the next thing I know, I hear, oh, so and so's playing with so and so from this band, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah, that was cool. When Jared Dines, that's how they kind of all got together. It was Trivium was headlining. It was their headlining tour, and playing with them was Avatar and Light the Torch.
Oh, okay.
And so that's how Jared Dines got in touch with, because Jared Dines was just as a friend of Matt Heafy, went on tour with them. Well, he ended up finishing the tour because Matt Heafy left because he had twins.
Oh,
so he had
okay.
to leave the
That makes
tour.
sense.
And so Jared Dines finished. He had to learn the whole set list, like, because he was playing like one or two songs a night, just like as a guest. And then he had to learn the whole set list, and then he had to learn it basically overnight.
Oh shit.
And then Howard Jones was filling in on vocals for a few songs, but I mean, Jared Dines was playing every single song,
Wow.
like the rhythm parts for every single song. And so yeah, that's how they all got together. And it's like Jared Dines is at this point more famous than most of the like musicians that like.
Well,
I feel
yeah.
like he's probably more famous than Trivium, because Trivium, they're one of the bigger, of the metalcore bands, but they're not that popular.
No, and I mean that happens too. This is a good song. I heard this in the car the other day, and I was like, all right, I can see the hype of this band.
I love this song. This is a song I'm going to cover. It's easy, but the leads are... I love... My favorite part about this song is the vocals, the lyrics. They're this is like one of the only songs that, pretty much ever, that I prefer the lyrics over the whole song.
Right. And even then, the song's no slouch
No.
either. I mean, it's got...
That guitar line's tough.
Oh, yeah, it is. And that's the thing, too, is, for those viewers out there that listen to the music for the vocalist or for the lyrics, this is a great example of a band where it's not as effective without the underlying music and without the rhythm and all that. Just as on the converse, there's other bands where if you listen to it for the music and all that kind of stuff, sometimes it ain't as effective without the lyrics. So this is a really good example of you can separate the two worlds, but you got to have them both in here in this band just to get the entire message.
Yep.
So
Yeah. And just the lyrics in the song, it's about a guy that gets in a car accident and is on the verge of dying. They wrote this song and recorded it in such a way that it feels kind of dreamy and spacey, because I think what they're getting at is like, because none of the lyrics make a lot of sense. Like they do,
No.
but they don't. And it's like, what's the point he's getting to? But I think that's the point of it, is to make it like he's having like a in between life and death kind of thing.
like a very disjointed kind of feeling where it's supposed to make the listener feel the same way that he is, where it's like, okay, well, I don't really have a good groove here, I don't really know what's going on. Well, that's the point. When I've never been in that situation, but I suppose if you are, that's what's happening to you. You're getting pulled in a couple of different directions.
Yeah, because like the bridge, the lyrics don't make really much sense, but yeah, and it's almost like he's like realizing his regrets in life, and then at the end of the song, he's given a second chance. So it's so good. I love this song.
So I've always loved that when the band opens way up and then sucks it way back down, and then it's that muted and everything. Then all of a sudden they bring it back.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. I like the change of dynamic there.
I like those vocal lines right there. He says, "My world goes black before I feel an angel steal me from the greedy jaws of death and chance and pull me in with steady hands. They've given me a second chance." Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
It's cool, yeah. And you can just, yeah. So like he was dead,
Right.
He was brought back and given a second. Like it's kind of cheesy and cliche of a concept, but I don't know, just the way they did it.
I mean, it was 2003 though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I really don't think lyrics and all that kind of got sophisticated until I would say mid to late 2000s in music. So I mean,
Yeah,
because now it's all about, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, but nowadays most bands, it's all about trying to get the message across with as little cheese as possible.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, that's what makes a song, man. I mean, it's like sometimes you got to put it in there and have that hook, and have something that is just very simply stated so people can understand it.
God, and sometimes when they just come in like that,
Right.
it's so powerful, it's so effective, and it just grabs you.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I was expecting out of a band like this.
Yeah.
Those dissonant chords.
There's some of their music a little bit reminds me of Offspring,
A little bit.
a little bit.
Yeah, and I really think, too, on a song like this, it's very interesting that they chose not to have higher gain and distortion on it, because it really works great. I mean, like, you would think that a song like this, you really want to push the overdrive a little higher, but no, I think it works great without it, because it's more about the the technical ability and the musicianship.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think it just works perfect on a song like this.
Yeah, and it's not to say that it's not a lot of like it's pretty.
It's pretty high
heavy,
gain,
but
I'm just saying, like, we're used to listening to like really heavy metal stuff,
Yeah.
and like even more so pushed. But in this case, no, I think works really good.
the engineer, he mixed this really well, because like everything, it seems like is right in its place.
Right.
Nothing's really overpowering anything else. The cymbals are a little high, I think, but that's a really high frequency it's going to cut through.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, everything seems to be right in its pocket,
Yes.
and everything is just so clear.
Even the vocals, I mean, because I can tell the way that they're presented on here that he's really giving it everything.
That's a sick riff.
It is. It's like got that sort of Middle Eastern flavor, but it kind of like it sounds almost classical too.
Oh, and it slows down. That's so sick. I love this album so much. It's
like
just it's
that.
these little things. Like every song might sound similar, but there's these little things in every
Yeah.
song that it just brings separates everything from the last one. Like,
Well, I like the dissonance it creates right at the
Yeah.
end of the phrase, because the chord that he's playing, that note does not work with that, but it sounds so good.
makes me want to listen to more again. I went through a pretty heavy Thrice kick, and then it just happened that I won tickets to see them on the radio, and that just happened to be around the time I was on a huge Thrice kick, and I was listening to like everything that they had, and they were basically just giving tickets away for nothing, and it was basically on the X they posted, I can't remember who the other two bands were, but there were 3 bands that they put down, and like, out of these 3, who would you like to see? Comment and win tickets. So I commented Thrice, and
you
they
won the tickets.
emailed me, and they're like, you win. I was like,
Nice.
sweet. And that was the same night Ashley bought tickets to go see Make Them Suffer
Okay.
at the rave.
Oh, that's cool.
So and it was funny because we had tickets for both shows, and they were such assholes about it there, because they were like, well, you can go to one or the other. You can't go to both. I'm like, well, I have tickets for both. Why can't I just
Right.
leave that one halfway through? Because they were the headlining band on that stage. If you've ever been to the rave, they have
okay, I see.
they have like 3 or 4 different stages there, and Thrice was headlining on their stage, and Make Them Suffer was opening on their stage.
Okay, I see.
So I was like, I really, really need to see Thrice, because I was
Right.
like, they were
That's why
like
you
the only
went.
band that I cared about at that time,
Right.
and I'm so glad. Like they
yeah.
were fucking incredible live. If you ever
Well-
get a chance to see them, go see them. They're amazing.
And it just seems like, with concerts, because I mean, it'll probably surprise some of you out there, but aside from going to like Waterfront and seeing some local shows around here, I've actually never been to a actual honest to goodness concert. Like
That's a fucking shame.
right, like how you're describing, like with headliners and all the
Yeah.
different things and all that kind of thing. Because I think really the only ones I've seen was on the Waterfront, and then when I would come see.
Yeah, I was gonna say well, I don't know. We didn't stay, but you saw Burn Halo.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
watched Burn Halo with you, but
Those
it was
guys are the shit.
like that's kind of more of like how a traditional lineup would go. It'd be like your one stage, your opener, when they're
Yeah.
finished, whoever else if there's a third band, and then your headliner.
Well, the rave, that I think just happened to be a night where there was just all these bands booked,
Okay.
and then but I think usually like their main acts are just in the main Eagles Ballroom or whatever it is.
Okay.
The rave. I don't know exactly. They like I said, they got like 2 main stages, and
Okay.
like. But I've seen so many bands there. I saw Buckethead there. I saw Bullet there. Yeah, I can't even remember all of them. I've seen a bunch of bands there. Bullet was really good.
Yeah, I've never like the bands that I was always into.
I saw Chiodos there.
I'll be honest. A lot of the bands that I'm into, they don't typically come to this area, and that's kind of why I never went to
Yeah.
concerts. Was because it was always like in a weird part of the country or overseas.
Where we are, you either have to go to Chicago or Tinley Park, which is Chicago, or
Right.
you have to go to Milwaukee, because
Right.
nobody ever comes to fucking
No.
our town. There have been bands that played at the Apollo in Belvedere.
That's true.
That place is getting bigger, but
Yeah, like a lot of
Yeah.
bands like Dream Theater and Symphony X and Fate's Morning and all them, they don't. Well, first of all, a lot of them don't tour that often anymore, and second of all, they very rarely come to the Midwest, even
Yeah.
let alone Illinois.
yeah.
So, I'm not going to pay thousands of dollars to go to Europe to go watch a band. So,
This is the last song. Okay.
but yeah, I mean, it's part of it. But then even then, other bands that I might have wanted to watch, yeah, I just just never went. You know,
Yeah.
and like you're right, it is a shame. I should go.
Yeah,
but
I mean, concerts are a little bit expensive, but I mean, it's worth it in experience alone.
Right.
You know, I mean, even if it's a band that you just kind of like, that you're not like crazy about, just go see them.
Right.
Because, like I said, this band, like I said, I just happened to be on a Thrice kick around that time.
Right.
And they, because of that, became one of my favorite bands. Yeah, that was Thrice, Artist in the Ambulance. It was a really good album. A little bit more on the emo side, but I don't know, if you're into newer metal, you know, you might like it. Check it out.
Yeah, I think so. I really enjoyed the album myself. It like I said, I don't really know the style that great, but I think this is a very good introduction for somebody like me who doesn't really know it. So I would recommend it.
Yeah. So, all right, we're gonna learn our songs. So, peace. We'll see you guys next time.